And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Today, let us make them remember. We are not
No fear here, and declare your independence of me, Ernie Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona, from the BEAUT full studios of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com. Oh, that was a good one. All right, Nick Dranias, is president, executive director for Compact for America Educational Foundation, Inc., 501c3, charity that focuses on educating citizens and statesmen, read legislators, about the power of interstate compacts to achieve constitutional amendments and other reforms. And other reforms. We'll talk about that. He also serves as a board member of Compact for America, Inc., a 501c4. Now, Nick's going to help us out with C3s and C4s. He's worked over at the Goldwater Institute where we met him, and we've known Nick for a while. He's come on the show, been a very fine guest for us, and given us what for. We're going to go ahead and talk about Civil Liberties Advisory Council member for Our America Initiative, also a C4. He previously served as General Counsel and Constitutional Policy Director for the Goldwater Institute. That's how we know him. Dranias led the Goldwater Institute's successful challenge to Arizona's system of government campaign financing to the U.S. Supreme Court. Dranias also serves as a constitutional scholar, authoring scholarly articles dealing with a wide spectrum of issues in constitutional regulatory policy. His articles have been published by leading law reviews, bar journals, and think tanks across the country. Dranias' latest works are in Defense of Private Civic Engagement, forthcoming, introducing Article 5 2.0, the Compact for a Balanced Budget, Heartland Institute, Federalist Society, Recognizing Pension Fund Insolvency. It goes on and on and on. He does a lot of stuff. All right. Now, this is the one thing that we're going to be talking about. This last weekend, Compact for America had an event. Now, this is for an encouragement of a constitutional convention, limited, pinky swear, limited to one day. One issue, one day. They repackaged this con and the word got one thing, balanced budget. Now, we had Charles Heller on last week. He was participating in this event, had his opinions, but my main thing is the Compact with America. Let's talk about how that's going to... welcome to the show, Mr. Nick Dranias. How are you?
Hey, Ernie. By the way, there's no such thing as a constitutional convention under Article 5.
Of course not. Okay.
For proposing amendments.
All right.
It's a big difference, my friend, because you're only proposing amendments.
Okay. Well, see, that's the one thing about this Compact for America is it's a deal between the states deciding how they're going to not have a constitutional convention where they're going to create an amendment that's not... You got to explain it to me, the distinction here, because it keeps morphing and changing.
No, it's real easy, Ernie. You get 38 states to agree in a formal binding sovereign contract to everything involved in the amendment process when you're using a convention. So you agree on the amendment, you agree on the rules for the convention, you agree on how long it'll last, who's going to go, and you even agree on ratifying the amendment. You do it with 38 states because that's the number you need for ratification. There's no reason to start the process if you can't finish it. And then on the congressional side, you pass one resolution with simple majorities, no presidential signature. It basically says we yield to the states to get the job done.
Okay. So you're going to come out of this 24-hour, not with a, 33 or whatever. How many does it take to call a convention? It's 33 or something, right?
The normal requirement without a compact, our compact is 2/3 of the states, 34 states. But we're designing our compact that exists in 4 states already, with a requirement that you have 38 states in at first, because we don't think you should start something you can't finish.
Okay, so that's the point that I'm making, is that to call the convention is not the same as ratification, and you want to get both done at the same time.
We're committing the states to both at the same time.
All right. How does that get done at this meeting? I mean, is there a place that you guys have agreed on in the compact where it's going to take place? Is it Philadelphia, Hall
Dallas,
or something?
Texas.
Or Dallas,
Texas. It's the default setting, and it's also a 24-hour convention with not just a topic limit. It's limited to an up or down vote on a specified, agreed-upon amendment.
Okay. Now, these are a lot of the concerns that have, floated. I mean, the focus group, slapped you upside the head and said, okay, so you go, all right, we're going to have it all at one time. We're going to get ratification along with the calling of. We're going to have all the states up in line and kind of limited to, and this is all you can do in pinky swear. We're going to come into a semi-non-convention, whatever you're going to call it, and then you're going to go ahead and come out of that with it done, but it still needs some congressional type of action?
No, it's totally tactically flexible, because we got to deal with the political establishment on our terms, not theirs. So you can get Congress to yield to the states at any time. Like, we've got 18 co-sponsors on the congressional resolution going forward right now, and even with only 4 states in. And it's important to have that tactical flexibility, because Congress is not going to want to tie its own hands or empower the states. You got to move when you look like a birthday resolution where you're not an immediate threat, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, so you're focusing on at the same time as you're doing the compact with the states, you're getting Congress lined up and lobbied and set and dominoed to where they're going to give, all right, I don't think you can do it, but I'll vote for the resolution to give the states the power to do this to make us.
Yeah, there's 2 motivations. One is the Machiavellians who want to go home and get elected on the issue of a balanced budget amendment, which is what we're advancing. 2 is the fact that some people can't, will have somebody else tie their own hands when they don't have the will or the ability to do it themselves.
Oh, I see why you got Norquist involved in this thing. I saw he was speaking at something. Is because he had that. Republicans got to sign the anti-tax of no tax of a tax thing. This is kind of, you're going to go back. You need this done in 2016 so that they either are made fun of or they got to go back to their constituents saying, I'm in support of this resolution that they're doing, giving the states the power to do this.
Absolutely. But obviously we're walking a fine line there. Grover's got a lot of friends on the right, not so many on the left. Ultimately, we've got to get enough center-left support that we can get through 38 states.
Okay, this is, I've been through, you and I have talked about this before. I've been through these different versions of we need to get in the convention, and it's always been the argument that it's for a balanced budget thing, no more, and it's kind of a political thing too, and vote for us and not them because they don't want and whatever. But the likelihood, or the risk that a lot of people have been concerned about what can happen to the Constitution once you start this process is alleviated by what?
By simply having the rules of the road defined. That takes care of about half the problem. And the other half of the problem is you align incentives so that the bad guys have more to gain by playing along with the compact than they have to violate it. And then the third thing is you create an incentive to basically act as a kill switch, where the bad guys will think that if they want to undermine the compact, the best thing to do is to throw a tantrum at the convention and shut it down rather than run away.
Okay, and then you get to out them, I guess. My thing, so then the first thing is, it's just in the last couple of years we've added trillions of dollars onto this debt thing. What happens to the debt? I'm wondering if, me and my grandkids and kids, and we're still on the hook for this and how that's going to be addressed. And we're going to grow our way out of it because of something, okay? Well, it doesn't look like that right now, but maybe in the future we'll talk. Okay, this is what I'm going to really hammer on this, the debt as we have it now, if this is going to be a refi that's addressed some other way, and then went through and it's they agree to no more than 1.5% over what's taken in. I'm like, why have any, and why that number, and will that number change? So those are the two things I'm going to focus on next segment, okay?
Yeah, it's 5%, though.
Of course. And why not 15? I mean, it's, I'm whatever.
Don't worry. I'll have all your questions answered.
Thank you. So what was the highlight of this last week? And when they got to that, we'll get to that. But what was the highlight?
Nobody died.
Yeah, no shit, man.
we had machine guns, powered parachutes, cars going 150 miles an hour. A lot of things could have happened.
Powered parachutes? The like a little propeller on the back and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And we even had a guy skydive base jump off of it.
Damn. Okay, you first. This was in what, Wilcox?
Yep.
Why there?
Because Indy Motorsports Ranch's owner, Graham Dorland and C.J. Dorland, wanted to make the venue available for an event that could create the relationships we need to make it successsul. And
were you guys at Alec up there? I'm sure you were up there, weren't you?
I wasn't. I was traveling around. We had our team at Alec.
Yeah, we found out, and we're like, we should do so. You should have been
at Alec. You should have been there.
No. I mean, for me to do, I could have done the media thing, but $950, I mean, seriously, But I get it, I went to the League of Cities and Towns convention at Star Pass in Tucson, beginning of August, and did the week of that, and that was my fill, man. I get it. It's like a lower level, the same thing. And I can see, is there a community in Arizona that uses freedom and leave you aloneism as a trait to come move here? No. They're in debt and going further and faster. And we got to pay for our 30 cops in our 5 square mile town pensions. I mean, I'm going, can I see the books? No. I'm going, wow, it's a train wreck coming. And I don't see how this is. See, that's one thing that you said last time we had you on. You go, Ernie, if we wait it'll be too late. And I'm like, it's already too late, man.
Not too late, Ernie. Not yet. Look at what just happened in Venezuela.
What happened? Oh, yeah.
If they can come back, anybody can.
Coming back, they're going to have to repudiate. That's my point. All right, here we go. Hold on.
Roads? It's the Ernest Hancock Show. Where we're going, there aren't any roads.
No roads. One thing that you have, a Republic We Will Keep, was the event. You got fast cars, you go to 150 miles an hour, and supercars whizzing around, like, yeehaw, man, and shooting machine guns, and paragliding, and they're doing base jumping from paraglides, doing all kinds of He-Man, woman-hating stuff, and they're just going, ooh, and they building some relationships, get to say hey, entertain some people, and what up. And a lot of the guys, they had a team up at ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, here in North Scottsdale. And I know one of the officers that works the liaison between the Phoenix Police and the Fusion Center and all that, and he was out there, and he said, the New Times were trying to get out and kind of sneak in and do anything. No. You can talk to him after, But, so I'm going, all right. And he goes, yeah, did you know about it? I go, yeah, I knew. Yeah, we talked about it. I'm just like, God, it's the same old same. The League of City and Town, you had a lot of dealings with these guys, I'm sure. You and I both, we get it, man. We get it. But I'm just like, Nick, man, you got to help me out with a solution here. My biggest problem is I really have an aversion to doing a refi on America, a refi on our debt. And if we go through this and pinky swear and we have this compact, we're going to do this amendment and you can't spend over X amount and so on, but that debt that we accumulated and your grandkids get to work tax slave. So I'm going, it's a dead letter as far as I'm concerned. I'd rather just repudiate, be Iceland or freaking even, like you were mentioning in the break, Venezuela. I mean, they go, oh, we got the good guys in charge now, or the bad guy in the right wing in Europe is taking over to what?
Ernie, the problem with repudiation is the 14th Amendment made it constitutionally impossible to repudiate the debt. And so, whether you like it or not, it takes an amendment, whether you want to repudiate or whether you want to limit the debt.
Okay, explain that to me. The 14th Amendment says what?
It says you shall not question the obligations of the federal government. I'm not sure if that's exact language, but it was passed so that nobody could, say that the U.S. government was going to default on any debt.
Well, I say let them, don't let them. I don't care. It's just my obligation to be part of them. I mean,
No, but my point is that we're stuck with the debt constitutionally. The only way to fix that is either to limit the debt, or if you really think you can get 38 states behind it, then try to repudiate it. But right now, the Constitution is locked in the debt, this outrageous nearly $20 trillion debt. It's locked in, and as we saw in the past 8 years, it doubles every 8 years. So, our effort is, look, we want to limit debt to 105% of what's outstanding when this thing's ratified. We're giving ourselves until April 2021 to get it done. After that, it sunsets. It goes away. If we're not successful, then, Plan B may be your idea.
It is a political thing. I can see with Norquist's involvement. I remember for a decade you had this, or years, the election cycles on this, he didn't sign the Republican not, increase tax kind of whatever guy, and they did it anyway. So I'm looking at, I see it as a tool. I mean, it may be an effective tool and it gets done, things you want, but right off the bat, it's not a principled argument when you're making it 105%. Why?
Absolutely it is, because you're fixing it at a dollar amount, and the economy is going to continue to grow. Within 50 years, it will be basically cash flow management as far as the debt goes. So you got to understand that, and the other important
inflation's going to save us. Is that what you're saying?
No. By fixing the debt at a specific dollar amount, you make the political class have an interest in preserving the value of the dollar. Because if they don't preserve the value of the dollar, if they have inflation, they won't be able to play in the economy. So the whole idea of this amendment is to align the incentives of the bad guys with the good guys and win in the end.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, we'll get to, all right, well, let's go ahead and stress that a little bit, and then we'll get to 105. But, excuse me, what you're saying is, if you limit how much that they can spend, they can't inflate and keep printing more money in debt of the blah, 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 which is an astronomical, oh my God, number. And that I'm certain that as the dollar either continues to inflate, and it comes home, or there's whatever in the future, well, then the debt becomes more and more payable, I guess, the argument. I don't know. What are you saying?
Here's the basic idea. Say we had $20 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
We lock that down at $21 trillion, which is 105%. So there would not be any constitutional authority to borrow beyond $21 trillion. If they continued to inflate the money supply, it would diminish their ability to affect the economy, because each dollar that they could borrow would be worth less. So what you're doing is you're aligning the incentives of the Keynesians and the big government spenders with the incentives that Austrians and Monterists and people like you and me have in preserving the value of the dollar. That's why this amendment is so powerful. In addition, over time, economic growth will make our economy so big that $21 trillion isn't going to look that bad. I mean, it's
still a lot per family. It doesn't change.
No, but when the Constitution of Arizona was created, it had a constitutional debt limit of, I forget what it is, about $500,000.
It's $350,000. I've been to Arizona Supreme Court twice on it, and they don't care.
We've improved on the language of that, but the point is $350,000 in 1913 was more than anyone could imagine. But over time, economics has made that number tiny, tiny, tiny. It doesn't make any. So the same thing will happen if you fix the dollar amount of the debt. Over time, the economy will grow so big that limit will basically cease to have any other function other than the cash flow management. And that's perfectly legitimate.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, I know that there's a bunch of Austrians sitting on the edge of their seat going, say it, Ernie, say it. And this is what they want me to say. They're going, if we maintain the value of the dollar, when you say grow our way out of it, are you saying inflation? You're like $350,000 is going to buy you a loaf of bread later? I mean, I'm going, if you fixed it, it's not going to do that. That's the point.
No, the economy will grow.
Okay, economy will grow, but I'm wondering how that reduces my obligation as a family to pay this debt.
Because there's going to be more wealth. You'll have 10 times in 50 years. You'll have 10 times as much wealth as before. If you look at normal growth rates and compounding of economic growth, and it will be easier and easier to pay down the debt, and then the amount of debt relative to the size of the economy will become less and less meaningful. It'll be less and less a basis for mischief. And so, it puts us on the right kind of glide path.
Okay, now I'm wondering if, the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest, as we get 5% above you in the constitutionally, they're going to be able to spend 5% more than what they take in. How is that rationalized?
No, that's not how it look, it's like a credit card. When you ratify the amendment, they start out with a limit, a revolving line of credit, just like in your credit card, of 105% of what's outstanding at that precise point in time. So if $20 trillion is outstanding at that precise point in time, then the government gets a credit card limit of $21 trillion. That doesn't increase any automatic fashion at all. And there's no exception to it. There's only one way for them to increase the limit, and that is to get 26 state legislatures to approve within 60 days a single subject measure originating from Congress proposing an increase. Now, 60 days for 26 legislatures to approve anything is such a high logistical hurdle that it will never be jumped except for true emergencies. And that's the only flexibility that we have in this credit card.
I'm wondering if there's any circumstance that's going to keep them from spending more money. They go, well, can we? Well, then we will. So, all right, we'll focus more on this. I want to make sure I understand this 105%. Is that 105 of the current debt, or is it the revenue coming in versus the expenditure going out? Does it go? We're going to find out. We'll be right back, Nick Dranias. Sure. Yeah, I'm still not clear on this 105% thing. You're saying, I as I understood it, it was 105% of the money that's coming in, you get to spend 5% more of that amount.
No.
Okay, so what are you saying?
Think of it as a credit card.
Got it.
What we're doing with the amendment is setting a limit on how much you can borrow on your credit card.
So you're extending their limit another 5% on whatever their debt is.
Well, there is no limit right now. We're creating a limit.
Okay.
We're creating a limit that adds 5% to what's outstanding when it's ratified. So if we get $20 trillion outstanding on the date that it's ratified, then there will be a credit card limit of $21 trillion.
That increases each year or just that time?
It's fixed, absolute dollar terms. This is what creates the interest in preserving the value of the dollar with the bad guys.
Okay. All right, so you're saying, let's go ahead and I want to make sure I get this clear in my head, so then hopefully, everybody smarter than me can understand. Okay, so you have $20 trillion of debt now that they admit. I mean, the whole negotiation is going to be about what's included in that debt. That's going to be another thing.
Well, we define it as full faith and credit debt. Unfortunately, there's not much of that. I mean, relatively. There's $210 trillion in unfunded liabilities, but it's not full faith and credit.
God, that's a whole nother... See, I went through this with the state of Arizona. What they did is they said, well, if we build the Taj Mahal for the Supreme Court building down there, and we kind of lease it, and we renew the lease every year, well, then it's not really a long-term obligation that's considered a debt, and we can spend, tens of millions of dollars on this thing and it not be part of our debt, and don't worry about it. So I'm just the same thing's going to happen with entitlement. Well, we just call it an entitlement, put it over here, and it's not part of the debt, and we still owe now, $1 quadrillion. No,
as long as there's no recourse to the taxpayer, they could do that. We're not preventing them from making political promises they can't fulfill. But, that's another function of, look, in the end, we can't fix everything all at once. We can start by fixing the problem of having the taxpayers on the hook for these promises. And then later is to, promises that are made that may or may not be subject to a taxpayer backup. We'll fix that in another way. We could probably, succeed with a TABOR, or we could succeed with other amendments if we succeed with this one.
All right, you first. See, I have personal experience in dealing with a state government with a constitutional limitation of $350,000, and they were $185 million in when I first started the suit. $185 million?
It's easy to fix that problem, though. It's easy to fix that problem. We exclude from what counts as revenue anything that's generated from any sort of gamesmanship, like sale, leasebacks, all that stuff, is excluded from revenue. So if they do it, they can't spend it. There's a lot of different features of our amendment that basically prevent every form of cheating that we've seen in the states. It's a good thing about having a federal system. We've seen just about every way you can evade a balanced budget amendment.
No, they're going to make the attempt. I guarantee that. But so I'm looking at the dollar amount that is there. This amendment, kind of puts everybody on okay, we're agreeing to this, okay? And we need to define what this is and how that's defined. And then, so the 105 is not a deficit spending per year. It's 105% of what you are now, just to give you $1 trillion to play with one last time.
Exactly, to give a transition phase, because frankly, we got a heroin addict. You can't just pull the plug on his supply.
Okay, now that's my solution. As I am, we're done. We're Texas. We seceded. Get over it. Next.
Yeah, well, try to get 38 states on that concept. The problem is a political criteria.
We're coming back.
Ethics and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock. To be a part of the show, call 602-264-2800.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. We have Nick Dranias, the compact with on for America. I don't know. We went through this before. It was Newt Gingrich contract on America. I know what. Yeah.
No, we have nothing to do with Newt Gingrich.
No, what do you call it? Contract with whatever it was. It's contract on America for whatever. But this is compact. But it's kind of smells a lot of the same guys. Okay.
No, this was actually going to be effective. And one of the things I want to emphasize to your listeners is that 38 states, the threshold we need, have joined compacts, agreements among the states, at least 8 past times. In addition, at least 23 uniform laws have 38 states in them. And so, this is not pie in the sky stuff. This has been done 31 times in the past.
Yeah, like universal commercial code stuff, that kind of business operating, blah, 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 blah. I get it. Okay, so let's talk about the actual compact itself. Is it going to whittle down to get to an amendment that's longer than the Constitution? Are we talking 3 sentences here, or what?
It's shorter than most congressional balanced budget amendments.
Well, that don't mean anything to me.
Well, it's as long as it needs to be effective and to learn from all of the gaming and cheating that happens in the states with their balanced budget amendments. So we've designed an airtight balanced budget amendment that's only a page long. Now that's a pretty long amendment, but it's about in the middle of all the amendments that have been proposed by Congress.
I'm shocked that it's only 1 page. Okay, so we got 1 page that is, declaration's 1 page. So we got 1 page that goes in there and it says, you get $20 trillion debt that we...
let me explain it, Ernie.
Please.
First of all, you can't spend more than taxes bring in or unencumbered income at any point in time. What that means is if the cash flow from taxes is not there, you can't spend it. Then we create one exception from that rule. That rule is not cheatable. It doesn't matter how you estimate it. It doesn't matter what form of accounting you do. But we do create one exception, and that is a line of credit. We basically give... we take Congress's currently limitless credit card and we say, okay, you can borrow money to fill any gap in incoming cash flow, but only up to a limit of 105% of the debt that was outstanding when this amendment was ratified. So if $20 trillion was outstanding when the amendment was ratified, they get $21 trillion in borrowing capacity, just like if you had a credit card with a $21 trillion line.
I understand. Now, this is not changeable like the next year. You're saying you get $1 trillion and it's gone, okay?
That's gone, and it can be paid down. They could pay down the debt and free up the borrowing capacity, just like you can pay down your credit card, but they can't get more unilaterally like they do right now.
Okay, is there a provision as they pay it down, it reduces, or we're going to have, like with the state of Arizona, it's $350,000, as memory serves, as a limit, so that'll be, you get $20 trillion, and that's the limit. When we did an initiative in 94 that if Arizona ever went to that the U.S. government went to $9 trillion in debt, Arizona seceded, and they freaked out. It was balanced budget thing, and they go, that'll never happen. Then what do you care? Because it was $4 trillion at the time or something. You double it, $9 trillion. Arizona secedes. Oh, heavens and purgatory! I can't believe you would ever think that would happen. Then what do you care? The
way that the limit is fixed in an absolute dollar amount, it does not reduce. But relative to the size of the economy, as the economy grows, it becomes less significant.
All right. So you're constitutionally allowing for a debt of X amount, but only 5% more than what it is now, so we're better off.
Exactly. And unlike the Arizona Constitution, we don't base the underlying spending limit on estimates created by bureaucrats that serve the interests of politicians. We base it on cash flow. Either the cash flow is there to spend or it's not. If it's not there, the only other place they can spend from is from this limited credit card. If there's no limit, if there's nothing left under the limit, they cannot spend it.
So it sounds to me like for them to be able to do whatever it is that they want to do, they're going to have to increase taxes.
Absolutely not, because the fact of the matter is that we grow enough to fund all of our programs at pretty sustainable rates without any significant
They don't want to just fund old programs. They want new programs.
Yeah, but look, the reason why they borrow is because there isn't the political will to have taxes raised to the extent that they need.
Okay, so the increase to say that they can't is they can. They just have to have more revenue.
Well, and the one more feature of the amendment is we have a tax limit that's designed to make spending reductions look a lot more attractive when they get into that pinch. And we do it very simply. We say you got to get 2/3 of each House of Congress for any new income or sales tax, but we create 3 exceptions for the left to get on board with this. We say if you switch to a flat tax, it only takes simple majorities. If you get rid of the income tax and replace it with a consumption tax, not a VAT, but a fair tax, you can do it with simple majorities. And then you can rely more heavily on tariffs and fees and fines with simple majorities. But you divert the push for revenue to those areas where it will do the least harm and where the political special interests are going to be very strong in resisting it, so that overall spending reductions look more attractive. And the only time we turn to the revenue side is when you've really politically exhausted all your spending reductions, and the choices between sending the bill to our kids or taking it on the chin ourselves.
Okay. I understand the practical allure of this. I understand the, ratcheting down, effort. I understand. But there's no principled argument if it's not their freaking money to begin with. There's no, it's like we're going to have a kinder, gentler. We take your money from you and, enforce, and you got to give. We have a kinder,
gentler. Look, if you believe that taxation is inherently theft.
Yes.
Okay, if you believe that, you're not going to be satisfied with this as a principled amendment. But if you believe that taxation is a necessary evil to maintain a system of government,
they're maintaining that system. You're
going to be fine with this.
I need a system of government in me. I got to have that, or I'm not American enough, I guess. So I'm going, all right. So this is, I'm looking for the principle. I love it when, and the people did too, and Dr. Ron Paul comes up and says, I want to replace it with nothing. It's just, these blanket statements like this, and understanding of what the role of government is, and we need to contain the beast a little bit more. We need a longer chain. We need a more gilded cage. We need these arguments kind of fall flat on me. I can understand how it would make it not as bad, maybe, but I don't trust them, though. So you're the attorney. You're the ones writing this. You had a big hand in writing this, didn't you?
Ernie, look. Right now, the status quo is unlimited concentration of power in Washington since the 17th Amendment removed the states from control of the Senate. It's unlimited taxing authority because of the 16th Amendment creating income taxation. And it's unlimited borrowing capacity. Now, if you have those rules of the game for the federal government, guess what happens? You can't get anything other than an overreaching, uncontrollably growing, out-of-control federal government, because the rules of the game favor politicians who expand government. So look, that's the status quo. The status quo is we're heading to the iceberg on the Titanic, and we have to find a way to fix those structural problems. The problem is you got to do it somewhat incrementally. Things don't move on a dime. The Titanic is not going to suddenly do a U-turn. You've got to create incentives that cause the political class to do the right thing, even if for the wrong reasons. That's what our amendment does.
Okay, now these incentives, a lot obviously are going to be political. That's going to be, postcards to home and constituencies. If he didn't, and he should have, and you better, and and we need a, what are you calling this? It's not a constitutional convention. What do you call it?
it's a 24-hour up or down convention for proposing amendments. It's only one amendment, and if anything else happens, it shuts itself down.
Yeah, but they're sitting there while we're here.
Yeah, but look, all this has got to happen before April 12th, 2021, when it sunsets. That means political will and political branding will have already been accomplished. It's just not plausible that a politician seeing 38 states and simple majorities of Congress agreeing on a very specific task, that you would get 26 states delegates to look at the situation and say, I got more to gain by doing the opposite of that. It doesn't make any sense. Politically, they obviously have more to gain by going along with contemporaneous political will expressed at such huge levels.
All right, I've seen this kind of thing before, and it's organized. They're going to make a play for 2016 election cycle, and it's definitely, and give them some time to 21 to get it done. But man, they're going to be pushing. Well, we'll talk about when we come back the event that they had this last weekend to make friends with people. They get triple digits out there racing cars and shooting guns and parachuting and stuff.
This is
okay. Kind of walk us through. They had Alec. They went down to Wilcox of all places, and they said, "Hey, man, it's out in the Lone Prairie. We get to have fun." And how were they greeted? Where'd they stay? What'd they do? And the schedule, and to what purpose did it serve you guys other than we just had some fun and He-Man, patriotic Americans that salute the flag want this amendment, right?
All
right. So we'll get into the details of it. Coming back 10 seconds.
So good.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Freedom is the answer. What's the question?
I want to break free.
You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
I want to break free. I want to break free from your lies. I'm so self-satisfied. I don't need.
Yeah, break free from the lies. The lies. Uncovering the secrets, exposing the lies here, and declare your independence from Ernest Hancock. Hello. Nick Dranias, always been a good guy. Come on and explain it to us. He's right in the middle. I mean, in the middle tip of the spear middle of what's be a coming. And this is. I tell you this. When he first started doing this, he's at the Goldwater Institute. He leaves. We're going to get this balanced budget, man, Ernie. Here we go. And I knew if Nick's involved with it, it's going to get a full court press, and it's going to be well funded. It's going to be got enough support. It's going to have a political tone to it of we support it, and these guys don't, and vote for us and not them, and we're going to save America. Now, then when you have, we were at an event together, and he introducing this, and there was an opportunity. I could have gone, but it's Christmas and family and stuff. But the thing is I'm going, all right. This is a very nationalistic, patriotic, flag-waving, general, admiral speaking kind of thing with SEAL team, and, real Americans support this balanced budget amendment. How far off am I, Nick?
Well, the basic idea was to demonstrate that we're working to preserve the republic for which great and principled warriors like the Navy SEALs are fighting for overseas. And that was the theme. The theme is let's do domestically as much as we can. Let's put as much as we can on the line to restore and protect our republic as these guys are doing in pursuing ISIS and all the other horrible things they're being asked to do. That was the theme. Now, in terms of why we're doing this, in addition to just basically honoring the best among the best in the military, and these guys truly are mostly constitutionalists. They're very intelligent. They're very dedicated to what they're doing, even if they're misdirected from time to time politically. The reality is that we have to recognize, to get a balanced budget amendment, we've got to grapple with the major spending interests. One of the major spending interests out there is defense. The good news is right now they view the debt as the major national security threat. Admiral Mike Mullen of the Navy said a few years ago, and repeats to this day, that it's the biggest national security threat our country faces, because he recognizes that our fiscal situation needs to be sound to handle any genuine military threat or other threat. So what our goal was, even beyond honoring these guys, was solidifying that recognition that already exists in the military to ensure that what would otherwise be potentially an adversary, potentially a spending interest that would oppose fiscal solvency, is on our side. So that was a big important thing to do. In addition to that, we recognize that the American Revolution was not fought because Thomas Paine, wrote a few pamphlets. It was fought because people like John Hancock and Robert Morris and others of, very significant wealth and political connections like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, came together and provided a social, financial, political infrastructure for what guys like Tom Paine did. So we're consciously trying to create an environment where those relationships would occur with some intense bonding, where there was going to be a memory that would linger and last.
Okay, so it's going to be onward soldier, freaking head down plow kind of, we're going to do this, but it always took common sense, a pamphlet by Thomas Paine for the troops out there to go, okay, I understand the principled argument for this. I'm just looking for the principled argument for this. I mean, give me your best 30 elevator speech of.
Well, the basic problem is government right now has too much power concentrated in Washington, has no limit on its borrowing capacity, will continue to grow unless we limit that borrowing capacity because politicians simply promise whatever it takes to get elected, build whatever monuments, get them elected, and send the bill to our kids. There's no way that will contain itself. It will spiral out of control and ultimately crash the system.
Okay, so I apologize, finish.
Yeah. No, so the solution is to work from within the states outside of Washington to impose a limit on government, impose a limit on its credit card in particular, and with that, hopefully, we start moving the needle back towards what the founders' original vision was. But without it, we'll never achieve anything. Well, we can't compete with Santa Claus. We will lose.
Okay, I got a question. How would this apply to programs that they would create like national health care? Obamacare, I mean, this isn't going to have an impact on that. They'll just nationalize stuff. They'll mandate that you get and you can't have, and it's still going to be money from my pocket because Obamacare, for the first time I saw, there's all these prohibitions of what you can't do. Okay, and then all of a sudden
Ernie, we're not going to gut all the center left's projects with this amendment. It's designed not to. We're not forcing any policy outputs. What we're forcing is an end to kicking the can. We're forcing genuine discussion to be had with a need for prioritization. Yeah, maybe some bad things will come of that. Maybe they'll make the wrong priorities. But you know what? As a system reform, we want that to be made. We can't get anything done if nobody has to actually make a decision, which is what unlimited borrowing capacity enables. You can keep throwing the can out to the kids until finally it catches up with us and unexpectedly crashes the system, potentially leaving us in a situation like Greece at best or Somalia at worst.
How are we not in that situation already? What do you think?
You know why? Because we're the least bad of all the crazy economies in the world that are major. And we're also a reserve currency, which, by the way, could change on the dime.
Dime. And that's one thing. When you have the inflation and it starts coming home and we're now on, this new currency of we don't care, and then the people just go, I got Bitcoin. I mean, I'm just wondering... It seems like government in general is becoming more and more anachronistic to Generation Next. Anyway, I wonder if this makes it government more valid or less.
No. Look, what happened? Look, we've got about 6 years of before all these disruptive things, which are in some cases many very good. I mean, things like Bitcoin and competitive currencies and the yuan being tethered to the Swiss franc and becoming a reserve. I mean, I'm not a fan of China, but it's good to have significant competition from a better currency, which is what they're building, right? So all this disruption is good, but the disruption could be incredibly chaotic and dangerous. Yeah. So it's better to create an incentive for the government to tail itself back and to manage its downsides rather than just pull the rug out and hope everything falls down and doesn't break.
Oh, I'm a rug puller. They go, we can save it. I go, save it? I'm looking for a wooden stake and a mallet, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, if we don't fix it in the next 6 years, it's probably going to be the only option we got left.
All right, so we go ahead and have some kind of a limit, and say it has some impact. They don't go throwing it off into some other entitlement like nationalization of you have to and sign up here and yay, but we're all equal and the women get drafted too. I mean, whatever. And then we got war spending. I'm wondering on the Department of Defense, they're never, claiming they got enough money. So they're just going to have to live within their means, or are they going to, use a leasing contract, Blackwater, special,
look, we're going to have
thing?
Look, when we're spending 40% of our budget with borrowed money. When that ends, we're going to have a moment of clarity. And for the first time ever, the political class is going to have to decide what its first priority is. And for the first time ever, they might actually read the Constitution for some guidance in that respect. But if we don't do that, they'll never do that until the system crashes, and we don't know what we're going to get out of a system crash. Probably something worse.
All right.
Look, we're already getting, well, I won't say it because I'm at P3, but we're already getting some leaders that some would say are on the verge of what was happening in Weimar Germany, right? How much more do you want to wait with this kind of chaos to generate other such leaders in the future?
I tell you, Nick, my concern is one thing that you and I are probably on the same page in a lot of this. I got 10 grandchildren now. I mean, I'm freaking invested. So I'm going, all right. I look at this and I'm just, there is no way that they are going to be free of this debt in their lifetime. It's not, unless, I mean, you're saying, yes, there is. It's going to be decades that they got to, hunker down and we're going to, and whatever.
They're already stuck with it. And without limiting it, they're going to get more.
Well, see,
infinitely more, because it doubles every 8 years.
Well, see, there's one of two things that can happen. We're going to get fiscally responsible and convince government to live within their means and have a document that says and they got to, and only if in extreme circumstances.
That can't happen with an unlimited credit card. Because you can't beat Santa Claus. Santa Claus kicks fiscally responsible candidates' butts over time systemically.
Okay, I'm hip. So the other side I would be is like, let it go. Just let it go. What's going to replace it? What makes you think we need to replace it? I mean, it goes back to the states or whatever. So either way, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So they're trying to, Nick and friends are going, look, man, we can manage this contraction here. We can, kind of limit. We can make it to where it can, heal, boy, heal. So I'm going, all right. If they are able to get this convention done in the way that they said and limit it, there might be some certainly the discussion and the talk, and as long as Nick will come on and discuss it with us, I'm feeling that we can learn something from it at the very least. Nick Dranias, I'm glad we didn't get to talk too much about your event this weekend, but needless to say, everybody had fun and got all he-manned up, right?
And he-woman.
He-woman. Yeah, right on. Hold on.